This is my 2011 BMW 550i, and it is a great car. It's a comfortable executive saloon with a 400 horsepower V8 and a 6-speed manual transmission. I have owned this car for nearly 2 years now, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it in that time. But I'm ready to move on, and so I'm listing this car with no reserve at Cars and Bids. If you've been looking for a modern mid-sized luxury sedan with a manual transmission and have been finding the choices few and far between, this may be just the car for you, and I encourage you to bid on it at Cars and Bids. First, a little background. The F10 generation of the BMW 5 Series was introduced in 2009 as a follow-on for the previous generation E60 5 Series, which was produced from 2004. The F10 came to North America for the 2011 model year and was produced through 2017. The F10 went back to more traditional BMW styling from the departure of the E60 series. It got rid of the bangle butt that was present on the E60 and went back to more traditional character lines, including the Hofmeister kink. This generation was also the first to introduce a turbocharged V8 in the 50 models, the 550 being one. This was a 408 horsepower, 450 pound-feet of torque, twin turbocharged 4.4 liter V8, and that could be mated to either a 8-speed automatic transmission or a 6-speed manual transmission. The manual transmission was only available in the North American market and only for the 2011 through 2013 model years. This one, of course, has that 6-speed manual transmission. From what I can tell, it seems that they only produced a few over 600 of these cars with a manual transmission total, which makes this a reasonably rare vehicle. Today, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of my 550i and show you a few of its quirks and features. Then I'm going to get it out on the road and drive it, and then I'm going to ask you again to bid on this car on Cars and Bids. Alright, I'm going to start the quirks and features of my 550i by getting in, and that involves unlocking the doors. This car features comfort access keyless entry, which means you only have to have the key in your pocket. You touch the door handle, it'll automatically unlock. Also point out the soft close doors here. You don't have to slam the door at all. You just bring it close to closed and it'll latch for you. All 4 doors have that feature. All 4 doors also have the comfort access feature. To lock the door, all you have to do is touch the top of the handle and it'll lock again. Once you're in the car, you'll find a well laid out dashboard with hard buttons for most features, rather than integrating them into the infotainment screen. It does also include a very large, for 2011, infotainment screen. It's not a touch screen. I'm not sure any car had a touch screen in 2011. It's controlled by the BMW iDrive controller. This is, I think, the 3rd generation BMW iDrive system, and it's greatly improved from previous generations. It's quite responsive, it's pretty easy to navigate around, and it's quite intuitive. This car comes with the so-called Premium Package 2, which integrates heated front seats, rear sunshades, an upgraded sound system, and rear view camera. It also includes the Cold Weather Package, which adds heated rear seats, heated steering wheel, and heated headlamp washers. The seats in this car are amazingly comfortable and feature separate adjustments for the lower and upper parts of the backrest, which allows you to get exactly the right position. The glove box is pretty standard for this type of car, fairly spacious. It includes the original owner's manual in a nice leather pouch. Moving into the rear seats of the 550i, you can see there's not a whole lot going on back here. It's a very comfortable place to be. The seats are fairly soft, the leather is nice and supple, and there's a reasonable amount of room. I have plenty of leg room here, and there's also plenty of headroom. It's a very usable back seat. Moving on to the outside of the car, I'll start by opening the trunk. This can be done either from the key or from a switch in the driver's footwell. The switch in the back here on this car doesn't work for some reason, but can be opened from the key quite easily. Press and hold the trunk button. Trunk opens and reveals a pretty standard trunk. When you're ready to close the trunk, there are two buttons up here. One with a picture of a car with its trunk open, and another with a picture of a lock. If you press the one with the trunk open, that will just close the trunk. If you press the one with the lock, it will close the trunk and then lock all doors, which is actually a very useful feature. And that's that. Moving around the car, you'll see the 19-inch style 332 wheels and the Shadowline exterior trim, both of which come with the Sport package, which also includes the Sport steering wheel and increased top speed limiter. You can also see the tint on the windows, which gives the car a very sleek look, but isn't so dark that it impedes visibility from the inside. Under the hood, you can see this car's 4.4-liter twin-turbocharged N63 V8 that produces 408 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. This engine, called the N63, was used in all BMWs with a 50 designation between 2008 and 2013, including the 5 Series, 6 Series, 7 Series, X5, and X6. This engine had some serious problems, enough so that BMW issued a recall. They didn't call it a recall though, they called it the customer care package, but it involved replacing a lot of things. Fortunately, this car has had that done. If you're looking at a car with an N63 engine, you should make sure that it has had the customer care package service taken care of. All right, driving the 550i. I have owned 7 BMW 5 Series, from the E28 all the way up to this F10. And there's a clear evolution from generation to generation. In all of them, you can really tell that you're driving a BMW 5 Series. But this one definitely feels considerably different from older generations. This one is really much more refined, and it's much more luxurious than previous generations that I've owned. The seats are so comfortable in this car. It's really, you could drive for a long time in this car with no fatigue. It's very quiet. The ride is very smooth. But when you want it to be, it can be quite sporty. I love the low-end torque in this car. It really doesn't matter what gear you're in. If you don't feel like downshifting to get moving, you don't really have to. It doesn't feel like a light car, and it's not. But for a relatively heavy car, it does some pretty impressive things. It's got lots of power. It also handles shockingly well, considering how comfortable it is. I mean, it's very confident. It basically does everything without drama. You ask it to go, and it goes. You ask it to go around a turn, and it'll do it. Go around here. I'm gonna hit it. Oh, man. Oof. Better slow down. Oh yeah. Man, it is fast. It's not playing around. 400 horsepower, even in a fairly heavy car, really makes you move. Very little body roll. They've done some amazing things with the suspension because they keep it comfortable. Ooh. But if you want to throw it around turns, it will happily oblige. And so that's my BMW 550i. This is the last of BMW's midsize sedans to feature a manual transmission, and this one is appreciably rare as optioned. It does an excellent job of straddling the line between sport and luxury. If you're a fan of spirited driving, but also like the practicality of a midsize car, this may be just the car for you. As I've mentioned many times, this car is being auctioned with no reserve at Cars and Bids. So if you're interested in seeing what the last of BMW's truly driver-focused midsize cars is like, go over to carsandbids.com and place a bid on my 550i.